Okay, hello and welcome to Plugin Along, a stream dedicated to LOTRO plugins. Last time on Plugin Along, we switched over to the Festival Buddy 2 plugin to investigate a bug that Telerian pointed out and to see what updates we could make for Harvestmath. But the festival is over and the new one has yet to begin, so today we're going to return to making progress on the bonus token item reminder plugin. As always, feel free to jump into chat with your thoughts and questions and possible improvements to the name of that plugin. And in the meantime, I logged in and was told by the subscriber buffs reminder plugin that it's time to talk to Wenda. So we're going to go do that. Let's go over to personal housing. I got something in my eye. It's hopefully going away. We'll see. Okay, we're going to go talk to Wenda. Now, my preference is to just leave this window up until it automatically detects that I have used the subscriber jug. Because otherwise, if I dismiss it and then I get distracted and then I forget to talk to Wenda, I'll just be sad later. So right now, it's just a big, beacon guiding me on what am I currently doing. Alright, so accept and finish. Great, we have our subscriber jug. Using it will cause the plugin to identify that we now have the effect, and therefore it can go away. Cool. And then I still have my subscriber town services inventory item left over from transferring over from Treebeard. It still has 41 months and, 16 days left. So we're going to keep that in place of the new one that I just got. Hey, Potino Bowen is in chat. Hello. So, we need somewhere to go hang out while we are working on plugins. Where is somewhere interesting? What do my milestones look like these days? Milestone. Sure. Glen Helig. Very treacherous and very nice to look at. Okay. And it turns out raining with low visibility. That's okay. Needs to be a weather app. Okay, well, someday we'll be able to see the stuff in the distance. So, what are we working on? We're working on solving a problem. And the problem for me is that I have specifically the Fateful Toolkit, but also this problem can be shown with the Flowing Silver Stone of the Tortoise. I have a Fateful Toolkit, and this is very useful to have on a server where I'm doing a lot of festival work. Patine says, maybe it's a warm rain. I mean, probably. Fortunately, I have a very good water-resistant hat. So, we have an item that is only useful if you remember to equip it at the beginning of doing a festival route with your character, and not as you're about to turn in the last quest, you're like, oh, I should have had the thing. So the goal is to do a couple things. One is if you logged in and forgot the Fateful Toolkit on another character, I would like an announcement. And what I was thinking of during the Harvestmath festival is when you turn in the wrapper, completing your 10 for the day, I think I would like it to have a perhaps optional reminder that pops up that says, don't forget to put your toolkit in shared storage. Because that's generally what I will do when I really need this, is I will be bipping back and forth between different characters, complete my 10, log off, log back on to the next one, complete my 10, log off, log on with the next one. So we can go ahead and record off the wrapper quest for each festival. We can record that name, and we can look for it whenever you complete something and say, was that a wrapper? And if it was, we can go ahead and use that as a reason why we can pop up to say, don't forget this. Because we cannot do anything like that when you're actually logging off. If you hit the log out button, there's a 10-second window here, but plugins don't know that you did that thing. And once that timer elapses, the game goes into logout mode, at which point plugins are told, hey, you are logging out, and they can do things like saving saving data files or whatever, but they can't stop the program from exiting. They can't be like, cancel, cancel, abort. It will happen. So there's, even if you could pop something up on the screen, it would immediately go away as your plugin is torn down. Unless you did something ill-advised, like went into a tight loop or something, which will cause other problems. And you still won't be able to do anything about it because the user still, the log out has to happen and then they have to log back in. So, yeah, I want to note a reminder, hey, put that away. And we can do the same thing as with Wenda. That is, when we see the Fateful Toolkit moving, we can be like, okay, done. That window can go away, that notification. Or if for some reason it's already, it's not in our inventory, we don't have to put it up on the screen. It's only if we think it's in our inventory or equipped on our character. And if it's in our inventory and not equipped, that's weird in and of itself. But it's certainly something we can pay attention to. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at where we were. Now that we've finished remembering what we were doing, in fact, I'm going to unload Subscriber Buff's reminder because that's just going to go in the way. Okay, so toolkit, it's not equipped. Shared storage, true. Interesting. We've gone ahead and hit a flaw. Let's go ahead and take a look. Let's come on into main. Coming down to 87. And it looks like I was in the middle of doing something. Fantastic. Oh, function. Check backpack. That looks like should be pretty straightforward. Something I noticed that 10 seconds does work better though. So I'm going to go ahead and actually open a new window and come on in and see if I can't do Subscriber Buff's reminder and see what we were doing over there. Backpack timer, check for subscriber town services. Great, this is what we, that's the code we wanted to borrow from that. Okay, so we need a function that says, is the item relevant? Brewster in chat says, hello, hello, welcome to us looking at stuff. Okay, so we're gonna switch on over to code here, and we're gonna come on in to two places. We're gonna take a look at this error message, which is line 87 in main, which is a call to check backpack. And that check backpack was not yet completed. And the problem was that we don't actually have our functionality ready yet. But we're going to go ahead and put that function into place. So at least we won't see an error message after 5 or 10 seconds. Now what we can see is that we are able to track these things moving around. These things are in the backpack. Equipped Fateful Toolkit. Fateful Toolkit's now in the backpack. If that went straight into shared storage, Fateful Toolkit's now in shared storage. So we are tracking the location of these things pretty well. Let's take a look at the flowing stone of the tortoise. Oh, I wonder what happens if you have 2 of these equipped. Probably doesn't do anything, or maybe you get 20%. Okay, flowing silver stone is now equipped. Flowing silver stone of the tortoise, great. Flowing silver stone of the tortoise is in shared storage. Can you put it on directly? No. Okay. Okay, so we're doing a pretty good job of tracking where things are. Awesome. So, we were going to go ahead and move some of these to-do items to GitHub. Let's go ahead and take a look at GitHub and see what other issues we've already put there. Let's see. Repositories on my other screen. Bonus token item reminder. Okay. Great. Whoa, don't do that. Every once in a while, So the problem is, this new system where it's like, where do you want stuff to go? I'm not a big fan of it. I like using the keyboard shortcuts, but like that. But you can't turn off the, you pulled a window to the edges, what do you want to do with it feature without also turning off the keyboard shortcut, which is bonkers to me, because those feel like two very different ways to interact with the same system. Brewster says, question. I'm still having an issue with the LOTRO Plugin Compendium program, or application. When I run it, I get an error. Problem while retrieving plugin listing 403 forbidden error. Any ideas if there's a fix for that? So that is not a problem that only you are experiencing. Other people have seen this as well. And the problem is not everyone is seeing this. So this seems to be a problem on the LOTRO interface side of things. And some people have seen success using something like a VPN to change where the request seems to be coming from, which seems to sort it out. For those who don't know, the LOTRO Plugin Compendium is an optional third-party program that can manage the installation of plugins. It looks like this. If I wanted to install a new plugin like Prime Plugin or Pets or any of these, I could go ahead and check that. And you know what? Let's go ahead and install. Let's go and install Prime Plugin. So I add that, it downloaded, it extracted, and it's done. So makes it very easy to do it. And as you saw, I did not get a 403 forbidden error. If it helps, I am currently located in the Netherlands, so you could set your VPN to Amsterdam and probably get similar results where it just works. And that's part of the frustration, is because I don't have an ability to reproduce this problem, it kind of falls off my mental radar. Bruce says, do you have to VPN each time you want to run LOTRO Plugin Compendium? Like I was saying, I don't really know. I have heard that people have gotten past the problem that you're having with a VPN. So you run the VPN, you run LOTRO Plugin Compendium, you do whatever you're doing with it, and then, yeah, you shut down the VPN when you're done. But I also am, for being someone who writes plugins, I'm actually pretty bad about updating my plugins. So there is a system where it will show you which of your plugins can be updated and let you do that. And I tend to be pretty bad about keeping my plugins up to date. And part of it is, you know, if they're working, if any bugs they have aren't affecting me, then the potential cost of upgrading to a plugin where now maybe there is a bug that affects me that was accidentally introduced in the service of fixing other bugs that weren't affecting me, or there's a new feature but maybe I don't want to use it, so it isn't a compelling thing. So for me, I'm actually really bad about staying up to date, which is very sad for a plugin developer. Any recommendations on a free VPN? What I would say is that if a VPN is free, just like with any other thing out there, then you are the customer, and they are somehow extracting enough value from your usage to pay for the thing. So I'd be very cautious with something like a VPN, which can see everything that you do online and knows exactly who you are and where you are because of the ability to geo-associate your IP address with your physical location. So a VPN is important enough that it's probably worth paying some amount of money to a company to do this. Now, a lot of VPN companies that do charge money will also have deep discounts on your first N months of it. I'd be surprised if you could not go too many months without seeing sponsorship deals on YouTube or whatnot for paid services, but are discounted for some amount of time. Free ones, there's been a lot of reports that I've seen recently about, these 8 free services redirect a lot of information to Russia or China or other places where maybe you don't want all the information in the world about you going. Maybe you don't care, and that's fine. Maybe you're only going to use it for this one thing. But any program that you install onto a modern Windows machine, if you hit yes, I agree that this thing can change my my computer, then you're giving it the keys to the kingdom, and it can do malicious things. And so you want to be cautious about what you let into your digital world. Will these things work as VPNs? Probably. Will they do anything else? Probably not. But there's no real accountability for something you didn't pay for. So anyway, beyond that, I don't have any specific recommendations. I have in the past used NordVPN, which is a paid VPN service, and it seemed fine. Sorry, I can't be more helpful. But yeah, that's what I've seen is some people don't see the problem at all. Some people use a VPN and the problem goes away. And I don't, other than the fact that there's probably something going on the LOTRO interface side of things, not sure what if anything can be done. And unfortunately, the people over on the LOTRO interface side of things have not been quick to find an answer for this problem. So that's where we're at. Sorry I can't be more helpful with that. I think in a digital world, especially in this increasingly global world where it can be useful to appear as if you are in a different spot, a VPN is a useful thing to have available to your at your fingertips, and especially if you don't have to break the bank on it. Okay, so we're going to take a look at GitHub. We're going to see that we don't have any open issues here. Did we have any issues at all? No. We want to go ahead and move our to-do items into GitHub because that's just a better place to track this. Okay. So we're going to make some new issues. So, possible improvement. Region tracking. Okay. Actually, I'm not going to assign that to me. I'm not going to work on that anytime soon. No. Okay, so keep track. And that's all. Oh, actually, we can edit with the next thing, which was a part of that after all. Note, at the moment this would be if they're using the flowing Silverstone and have the Fateful Toolkit on the same server. Okay. Let me edit or add another one. Note, if the user picks up a festival wrapper and has the flowing stone equipped and the Fateful Toolkit available, this is also worth announcing. Okay. And that's because the flowing stones don't do festival bonuses, or they don't say they increase your festival tokens. I keep meaning to test that, actually. They say plus 10% wallet barter tokens through Western Gondor. So if you move beyond Western Gondor, or if you're doing festival quests, it won't apply. Unless it does, and it's just not documented well. There are some things about the game where a tooltip will say one thing, but experiments will say another thing. So it doesn't hurt to double check these things that are asserted in a tooltip. And it's like, is that true? Some of those things include, like, if a skill says plus 10% on damage, that can vary drastically depending on where in the calculation of the damage that plus 10% occurs. Does it occur after everything else? Does it occur immediately and then other modifiers happen? And the result can be a wild swing for that kind of thing. So experimental testing of what actually happens in the game, it's probably best for determining how much credence you give to that tooltip. Okay, so great. So that was that. All right. So that was a possible improvement. Let's do a new issue, possible improvement, because these are kind of beyond the initial design. Okay, Snafutu comments the plugin warned about other items with a max level of characters beyond that would be useful. For instance, the shield of the hammer hand stops at 185. Various earrings max out at 120, 130, 140, etc. And I think the new one's at 150, yeah? Let me actually take a quick inventory. I think the rest would still be... I have a terrible problem trying to let go of these old earrings, even though they have no use to me anymore. Fateful Gundabad would be next. Alright, so Golden Lion's 150. Fleet Merchant's Earring, Gundabad, Earring of the Dead City, and then Focusing Earring of the High Elves. Was that it? Might be it. Okay, so that was Focusing Earring, Earring of the Dead City, Fateful Gundabad, Fleet Merchant's Earring, and Golden Lion. Okay, so we're just going to copy those out of the game chat. Control C, V, X. These buttons work great in game chat. Earring of the Dead City was 120, and then every 10 levels. 130, 140, 150. Alright, we're going to go ahead and turn this into an unordered list because that'll be a little bit tidier. Okay. Great. So, that's an interesting idea, but I don't think that's going to be a problem for the near future. Yes, I do actually want this. So, we're going to make a new issue. And this is for initial release. Chat command. Chat command like /bonus that prints out where the plugins think each of the 3 items are, excluding the ones we don't care about for this server. Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and create that. And we're going to go ahead and leave that open. Alright, make a new repository for this to go in. That's done. Finish stripping out subscriber code first, then commit everything. I think that's pretty done, actually. Stop hard coding the 3 checks for specific items. Set up a table. Yeah, that's definitely a thing I need to do. So, initial release. Genericize these checks. I feel like that's not the way I want to spell genericize. How about a Z? I suspect that's a British EK thing. Okay, genericize these, the item checks. Cool. We're going to go ahead and create that. New thing. Check comments. Yep, that works. So we're going to come on in here. We have a new issue. Initial release. Check. Comments. Okay, gonna assign that to me and create it. Great. Okay, so 3 things to work on. What we're gonna do now is get rid of this to-do file, delete. And let's come on into our repository. That's subscriber buff reminders, we don't need that. Bonus tokens, there we go. Oh wait, we haven't actually committed this yet. Not completely. Okay. Guess we should push some stuff out. Great. So we have main, we have settings. Our to-do file is gone. Awesome. So it's some good tidying up progress. Um, Having these things in a text file, it's fine. It's a good starting point. But having a system, and the GitHub is free for individual users for small projects like this, and having a simple place where you can go and take a look at issues and do some triaging, assigning to people, setting milestones, all of that. You can do some pretty reasonable level project management using the built-in tools with GitHub, and you can't do that acting on a text file. So it opens you up to some broader activities. And we'll seem just that little bit more professional if you ever go in for a job that is doing software engineering and they're like, let's track issues. And you're like, I can use a text file. And they're like, no, don't do that. So, okay. So I think a check command might be really useful for just interrogating the state of the system. Wow, I don't need any of that. Okay. So I think what we're going to start with is that, just so we can easily interrogate where we think everything is. Or we'll start with the hard coding problem. That's a good question. There's a cat kneading on a blanket back there, out of range of the camera though. Okay. Let's write the basics of that, and we'll see how that goes. Now, I have to remember how to do such a check, but the good news is I've already done that in another plugin, Deed Tracker. Deed Tracker, if you load it up and you don't have the window open, and you type /DT, that probably doesn't work because daily tasks, I think, was already working on that. But /deeds, that will open up the window. What about /deed? Yeah, okay. So if we search /deeds, we'll probably find the mechanism by which that works. All right, let's do it. So new window, and we're gonna go ahead and open up that folder, and that's gonna be in Documents, Lord of the Rings Online, Plugins, Cube Plugins, that's me, Deed Tracker. Okay, so in here, and we can go ahead and close those up. If we didn't know anything else, we could just search /deeds. And we don't see anything in there. So what if we search for the word spelled like that, deeds? We, of course, will see that in a lot of places, but we do start with commands. That's plausible. But knowing what we know, we are looking for a check command. Cool, let's come in and let's figure out where this is coming from. So in main, we register commands, okay? And that comes in here to do this thing. Okay, so we're going to be making a shell command, and we're going to call turbine shell add command. Awesome, let's find out a little bit more about this. We're going to go over to some API documentation, and this is turbine shell methods, add commands. So add commands, name of the command that can be execute, sick. Multiple names can be specified by separating them with using a semicolon. And that is the preferred method of doing this, because if you do I want to say just /help, that will interrogate any active plugins as well. We can see Lua, we get deed tracker, deed, or deeds. And what is that? That shows hides the main window. Awesome. If you do not do this, if you do them one at a time, like this, then that's going to show up in 3 different entries in that list. Let's go ahead and see what that looks like. So we can see that those were aggregated together into a single entry, but it shows up 3 times in here. Sorry about that. I got something in my nose. So, because we don't want that to show up 3 different times, we want to add them separated by semicolons as a single add command entry. And if we do that, then we get the same basic result. But there's only a single entry here. And so that's how we ensure that we're sort of a good participant in the ecosystem of chat commands. So we use turbine shell.add command. We want to override the functions for get help and get short help. I don't even know if I like that being underscore deep tracker. Why is that? Oh, yeah, deep tracker does do the thing. What does get short help do? Alright. Slash help space deed. Okay, same thing. Okay, so I want to say I don't actually enjoy that being there. Well, do I? Kind of want to call out all 3 of them. Let's see what that looks like. Alright, so help. Deed tracker, deed or deeds, it shows hides the main deed tracker window. And I don't mind that these texts are the same for short and long help. I assume that is what's going on. So full and short. Let's sort out what the difference is here. Okay, so if I say help deed, okay, because I selected that one specifically, that's the full. And then if we do slash help, we get the short one. Okay. Oh, but for the short one, we don't actually need the commands because we know they're going to be okay, and then here. So let's give that a try. So slash help, we can see deed tracker deeds shows hides the main deed tracker window. Awesome. I wonder what happens when you do it for prime bags. Did they register any chat commands? Nope. Okay. So the other one was doing help deed. So deed tracker deeds or deeds shows hides the main deed tracker. I feel like I want to emphasize that these are slash commands. Let me see what that looks like. Okay, so that doesn't affect the full one. And then the partial one, deed tracker, deed, or deeds, shows hides the main deed tracker window. Is it true? It is. Awesome. Okay, so now that we've kind of refreshed our memory of what a command looks like, we can just steal this whole thing. So we're going to go ahead and make a new file, commands.lua. And in main, we want to make sure that we call this function. Do we have, yeah, there we go. Register commands. And we need to import this at the top. So bonus token items, and that's going to be commands. Okay, so I don't like that that's not a local. Let's find out if that was okay. we don't actually need the contents of this yet, and those are wrong anyway. So let's go ahead and debug command executed. Cool. We can get help. This is going to be /bonus. Shows prints the location of any known bonus item tools. Bonus items. Cool. And then the get short help is going to be the same text, and the fact that we're doing the same text, it'd be nice to have that in a single location, so changes to one change the other. But on the other hand, this is such a simple file that it's adding extra complexity that maybe we don't need right now. So bonus, and that is command, and it's called command main window, but that's no longer accurate. That is going to be bonus command. Okay, Brewster said, update, ran a VPN, the LOTRO Plugin Companion application ran successfully, all good, turned off the VPN, ran it and got the error. So it looks like the VPN needs to be up when I want to run it, which is easy to do. Awesome. Thanks for reporting back that was also successful for you, because that helps us gather information in case we can be of any assistance to the LOTRO interface people. But yeah, glad to hear it worked, and good luck in your LOTRO and plugin adventures. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to come back into the bonus token item reminder plugin and say /help. And what we expect to see is, okay, we didn't see it. Is that, does this need to be a global? All right, let's find out. Here, can't rename it quite yet. It needs to be global? Oh, I wish that add command took ownership of this. Okay, so let's go ahead and at least give this a capital B, because that is the way we identify that this is a global variable. Okay, Brewster says, by the way, I used Proton VPN free. Well, Proton is a name that I recognize and I've heard good things about, so good choice, probably. Fingers crossed. I assume if it's coming from Proton, and if it's the same company, that there's probably limitations on what you can do with the free one versus the paid one. You've got me curious now. What did I say? No data limit. Huh. Well, may your information be as safe as you want it to be. Okay, so for whatever reason, they're not taking ownership of this object. So if you make it a local object here, it's going to be deconstructed and then not available for this later. It would appear. That's sad. If we do /help bonus, then we're going to see /bonus prints out the location of any known bonus items. And if we do /bonus, we see command executed, which is not means we're getting right here. So excellent. Okay, so we have a command, but we are we actually tracking the information? Because we saw that we were announcing the information as these things were moving around. Do we have options? Sorry, not options. Do we have globals? Settings? Well, I think we had ideas for what those settings would look like. Okay. So, what we're going to do is use this as inspiration for our settings. And the server settings, we're going to go ahead and I don't think it's a good idea to have a default server setting that says we have it on this server. How do we want to do this? Now, it's fine for testing purposes, but I think the default settings aren't going to be like that, but let's go ahead and say example of what will be in settings for each item. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so what we're looking at is if it is on a character, then it's going to be either in the backpack or the vault or equipped. And we need, do we care about the equipment slot? We don't, because each item has a specific slot it goes into, so that doesn't matter. Okay. If it's not on a character, then it must be in shared storage. Or if it is in shared storage, then we don't need the character information because it can't be. Okay. So what we want to do, if we're not already doing it, and I assume we're not, is we want to update the server settings whenever one of these things moves. So let's go ahead and remind ourselves, what are we seeing when it moves? Fateful Toolkit is now in backpack. Great, let's save that. Okay. Now, the fact that we have functions for each of these is a problem. So let's go ahead and fix that up over here too. Function is match, is item match. So that's an item, and we need the possible item. And that's going to be return true. So let's go ahead and document this function. Return true if match, false, otherwise. Does that look right? Okay, so item is a item. We'll go ahead and get that. And then possible item is a table. And entry in lang that has one string per language. Now, the name of an entry in lang, so that should be a string. Okay, so the way this is going to work is we're going to say local is match equals item, and item get name equals lang, and that's going to be a possible item. We're going to use that, and then client language, or false. Return is match. Okay, so we can use that instead. We could use that instead of these other functions, these more specific functions. So equals is toolkit is item match item toolkit. Yeah, but what is that? Fateful Toolkit, there we go. So, Fateful Toolkit should be the same. We're going to run through each of these actually. So, we can replace any instance of is item toolkit with, okay, that's args.item. Okay, there's an is toolkit. We're going to do again args.item. Is toolkit item, replace this straight up. That's going to be args.item. Okay. This is also args.item. Man, so many checks. All right, now we just have the is toolkit function, which we are going to nix. So now let's see if all those changes even compile. Yes. So let's go ahead and see, can we track it? It's now in shared storage. It's now in the backpack. It's equipped. It's back in shared storage, in the backpack, equipped, back in the backpack. Okay, so we didn't break anything there that we can tell. Awesome, that's a really good start. So what we want to do is eliminate these other two functions as well, because what we'd like to do is just iterate through the list of items. And in fact, items. We're going to go ahead and do Fateful Toolkit. We'll do the Flowing Silverstone. And what we're saving off here are the internal string values that we're using to index these different things. Because as we are making these entries, and maybe there's going to be more, we don't want to have to hard code each new one. We'd like to just be able to iterate through items and see what's up. And so, item data, and I know we're in strings, so already I don't like that. So what we're going to do is pull this out into its own file. So we're going to come back in and make an items.lua. And we're going to remember to include that, and it's got to come before strings. So let's go ahead and import this, but it's going to be items. And so now in items.lua, I already don't like the numbers here. So I'm going to make some global variables equals 1, flowing silverstone equals 2, and flowing silverstone of the tortoise equals 3. Now, is this useful? I don't know, but I just hate magic numbers in code. Numerical constants without explanation of why they exist that way. And bonus, we can say that Fateful Toolkit equals, and the one thing we want to do is have their backpack location known. And so you can assume that's in gameplay, backpack, equipment slot. That's what we're looking for. Get item. Okay, so it's an equipment dot craft tool. Okay. Turbine.gameplay.equipment. A Fateful Toolkit is a craft tool. Cool. Other things? I don't know if we care about anything else right now. But what we do want to do is go ahead and set up one of each of these. These are stones, and so they are going somewhere else. Do we remember? So, turbine gameplay equipment, pocket. These are pocket items. What is in our pocket? Okay, so we have a place where we can, based on the current string that we're operating on, if we're iterating through items, Fateful Toolkit, we have a place to look up what equipment slot is it in. Okay, cool. We're kind of doing a lot of everything today because we're fixing some mistakes of the past. They weren't really mistakes, they were just a starting point. There's the old expression, perfect is the enemy of good, and it's better just to write something that is bad now and fix it later than to write nothing now, is the principle. Or at least write it really badly now and possibly have to rewrite it later. And you might still end up spending less time than the perfect version. Of course, it does differ based off of whether you're writing a LOTRO plugin or code for an operating system, right? Like some techniques at small scale don't always work at large scale, but this is small scale, so we get to get away with it. Okay, so these other functions that we are adding in. My goodness, there's still window references here. Okay, is item match, so is flowing silver stone. We want to replace that with is item match. So this is going to be is item match. Most of them I think were args.item as it turns out. Okay, so we want to replace is flowing silverstone args item with this. So we're going to replace that. Awesome. And the next thing that we want to replace is just any instances of is flowing silver stone. Awesome. That's just item. Now we can go ahead and do that as well. Okay, so that's all of them. Yeah, let's go ahead and see if that worked out okay. Flowing silver stone, backpack, shared storage, backpack, equipped, into backpack, into shared storage. Yep. And then straight from equipped to shared storage. Great. Tracked it in every location. Is flowing silverstone of the tortoise. So same basic idea. So we want to replace any indications of item with that. Awesome. With this one. Okay. And then we're going to be replacing args.item also. Okay. And that means this should be the only remaining version of that function. That is true. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of it. Oh, of the tortoise. Yeah, of the tortoise. It's equipped. It's backpack. Back in shared storage. Great. And directly. Yeah, everything worked great. So we now have an is-item match. Next up is Fateful Toolkit equipped. What we really want is function is-item equipped. And again, possible item is going to be that string, that lookup, but everything else in here, maybe that's pretty good. So what we have is a possible item. Probably need a better comment for that eventually, but we get the player's equipment and we need the location for that. So what's that called? Index local equipment location equals, and we know this is coming from items, so that's item data. So item data, and that's possible item, and that's going to be equipment. Great. So we have item data. We know that that is going to be an integer, apparently. Yeah, that's fair. So we're going to use that equipment location to get it, and then say is item equipped, and that's going to be an is item match of. But I feel like we almost don't need to farm that off. No, that's fine because that's checking for the item's existence. If the item doesn't exist, we don't want to have to miss a null check or anything. But we do want to make sure we pass possible item in place of this string. So is item equipped. There we go. Okay, so helper function to identify if an item exists and matches our possible item. Cool. And we're going to borrow that to identify if an item is an equipped item exists and matches our possible item. Okay, and then possible item is same thing, a string. We're going to come back and fix that later, but at least we'll be doing stuff. And then that's going to be true if a match is made, false otherwise. That's not doing what I want. Okay, double hyphen. That makes sense. It's acting like a comment. True if match, false if otherwise. Let's add commas for readability. Great. Okay. Parameter, possible item. Okay, that's good. And this one? Yeah, that's working. Oh, comment does not need to be there. Helper function identify. Yeah, there we go. So, is Fateful Toolkit equipped? At this point, we can go ahead and replace that. Any instance of is Fateful Toolkit equipped with is item equipped is item equipped, and that's going to be Fateful Toolkit, probably. Oh. Well, at this point, we're not actually using it very much. Well, let's take a look at that. All right, there we go. First compilation of problem and an issue. Okay, equipment location equals item data, possible, okay. Are we including items, yep. Are we including item data, yep. Attempt to index field, that could be a problem. Oh, yeah, we are indexing by numbers. We need to index that by items if we're going to do that. Okay, so items, possible item. Wait, hang on, I have that backwards. We have a string. We have that string. Items lookup. I don't know if I actually need this, but it'll just make life a little bit easier if we can go both directions. This can be programmatically created also. If you have one of these tables, you can just on startup create the other one, and for a small table that's going to be fine. But I think we want to see how this works more than anything else. So items lookup, possible item, and then item data. Okay, so toolkit equipped false, and then toolkit equipped true. So we can see that is working. Now, if we need that, I think the answer is yes. We want to query our equipment as we start up. Okay, so is item equipped? Replaces in all instances is Fateful Toolkit equipped. So gone. So any other place where we have an if, else if, that's a problem that I want to address today. And maybe that's the only problem we're going to address today, is we're going to be walking our way through, it turns out, this issue. Stop hard coding 3 checks for 3 specific items, set up a table with each item, which equipment index they are, and iterate through each time we're checking for them. Perfect. Okay, so coming on in to this function, get item equipped dot item equipped. So what we want to do is for I equals 1 to number of items do. What have I done wrong? Oh, haha. I pairs of items for. Oh man, I'm completely doing this wrong. I need a for each, but we don't have it. Okay, perfect. I was so close. So for key value in I pairs of items, do. So we're going to do a loop here instead of one entry for each. So if, and what do we, can we think of better names than key value? Maybe. But in the meantime, int value, or int, item int, and item lookup string. Let's name them that for a moment. So if args.index equals, and we know, here, let me see if I can't make this a little bit easier than flipping back and forth. We know we have a lookup for item data. So if that equals item data, and this is a integer lookup, so item int equipment, then and we need an and is item match, okay, but we know that this is a lookup string, okay, then end, okay, and then be equipped, and then we can go ahead and use our strings lookup. And this is going to be lang item lookup string client language. Okay. And so the rest of this should be redundant now. Okay, so is that true? So we're going to go ahead and equip Fateful Toolkit, great. Equip Flowing Silverstone, great. And equip Flowing Silverstone of the Tortoise. Fantastic. Okay. So that was a successful rewriting of this to be iterating through our list of things instead. Now, like I said, I expect that we won't need both of these when we're done, that we'll be able to get away with just the one or the other. Or something. Okay. So that was item equipped. Item added. Now we are seeing item added, but I think that's not being as helpful. We're definitely pretty good. So if not backpack loaded, then start the timer. I feel like if an item is added, it could be the first of all of them. Okay, yeah, the timer is great. So if item match, well, again, what we want to do instead is for item int, item lookup string in I pairs items, do and if is item match of args.item, and this is going to be the item lookup string, then we're going to do the same thing, debug. Yeah, we can match it for now. So this is item, no, this is lang, item lookup string. And again, that could be item lookup of the integer. We just have to change some stuff around. Client language, now in backpack. Okay, and if we comment out the rest of that, what do we get? Equipped, Fateful Toolkit now in backpack, equipped, now in backpack, equipped, now in backpack. So we can see all of that still working, and that means we are safe to delete the other code, check shared storage. Same basic item. So what we want to do is, so the item, we're checking against each one of these. Now, for item int item lookup string, and I have pairs of items. Do if, actually we want to do that inside the item, because if we don't have an item, there's no point in doing the rest of this. If is item match, and that's going to be item, and that's going to be the string, item lookup string. Then debug found the thing let's go ahead and add a little helper function for right now. Function get item name, and that's going to be item lang equals, no, just lang. Right, and what we want to say is if not lang, then lang equals client language, and that lets us override the item name if we have a purpose for that in the future. And then what we do is just this thing. So return lang, and that's going to be the item. Cool. And what we want to do then is search for those uses of lang where we're getting that. Okay. What we want to do is say get item name, and that's going to be possible item, and we get rid of the unnecessary client language. Okay. Same basic idea. We're going to keep on searching. Lang get item name. And Barrel White says, "What's up? Loving the stream." Well, thank you very much. Very kind words. We are working on the plugin that's going to help us remember to put the Fateful Toolkit or other item like that into shared storage when we're done and we're flipping back and forth. In order to solve the problem that when I'm doing festivals and I want to make sure I have this on the character that I'm playing, I want a plugin to take that cognitive load off of me. So we are going to go ahead and replace that, get item name with this. And this also means that when we change how these strings are structured, so that maybe we're using an integer lookup instead of a string lookup, that there's only a single place that we need to update instead of having to update every one of these function calls that we're looking at right now. So this is a little future proofing that will give us a single isolated spot to fix. And in the meantime, found get item name, and that's going to be the item lookup string. Oh, and then in shared storage. Cool. So what we should see, and I don't actually know when this is called, so let's find out. Is this just items refreshed, check your shared storage? We might not actually see this until we log off and log back on, and that's okay. Let's go ahead and make sure that we don't have any problems. Attempt to call global client language. Hilarious. I did attempt to do that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and log out and log back in, making sure that we set the plugin to auto-load before we leave the character selection screen. Okay, so all characters for that, and you know what? Let's go ahead and load subscriber buff reminders for all characters too. So after log on in. The reason is the items refreshed happens for the vault. I forget the exact situation, but one of them is the first time you pull down the items from the server. So we can see that subscriber buffs is active, and toolkit is also there. So we go ahead and do shared storage. Now found Fateful Toolkit in shared storage. So we got all three of those being called. Now that might refresh every time we open this. Yep. Okay. So we do not have to log out and log back in to see it happen. But whenever this refreshes, we can just iterate through everything, see if it's any of the items that we care about, and we're good to go. Okay. Now, every one of these iterations through the items is predicated, or is currently assuming we care about all of them. And I think at some point we do want a function that says, do we care about it for this server? So function is item in use. And the answer is return true. But the answer will eventually be maybe not. Maybe they don't have it at all. Maybe it's on a different server. So anytime where we're iterating through like we are here, we probably want to care about that as well. Man, I wish there was a yield syntax. I think this is actually the wrong path to go. I think instead what we can expect is we'll have items in settings. And for each item in settings, we could iterate that way. Let's leave this the way it is for right now until we're ready to actually make that shift over. And instead of getting distracted, we'll just keep on simplifying all these places that are doing the pattern that we don't like. Like I said, that may be the only thing we do today. We're over halfway through the time for our stream today. By the way, Extra Life, the fundraiser, is still going on. If you haven't had a chance to donate or want to donate more, do consider donating to Extra Life. They are raising money for children's hospitals, for children's health in primarily the United States. I haven't checked to see if there's other locations. And there's also a community loot list that you can go to and request goodies from it for in-game LOTRO use if you donate, as well as an incentive. Undero says, can't you use count for yield? Thing I'm currently thinking about is something that's available in the .NET framework and probably other places as well, where you have a function, do a yield, and essentially it is saying, you know, yield return x, where x was calculated in some fashion. So maybe for I equals 0, I is less than 10, plus I, yield return x. And for that, you can use that as a control for doing like a for each. And each time through, you're going to get the next number here. But that means that the logic in the function can do a custom iteration where it's like, oh, okay, I can go through these three things, check our settings, and determine if they're involved here. And so your yield, instead of doing an I pairs, which goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 through all of these items, your yield would be like, okay, 1's good, 2's good, not 3, or 1's good, 3's good, 4's good, not that, 7's good, and so you could have that pattern. I think there's going to be ways that we can deal with that, and we're not really saving a bunch anyway. Like, it's maybe even a premature optimization, because we're talking about at the moment 3 total things, and maybe eventually there'd be 10 things. But just compared to some of the things other plugins are doing, it's a very small amount. But it I hate writing things where I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this every time, regardless of whether I need to or not, and I want to make it better. It's okay. 4. Item and item lookup string in I pairs items do. And what we're going to do, we are going to do if is item match args.item, and that's going to be the item lookup string. Then we're going to debug for now. Obviously, we'll replace that with something more meaningful, and that's going to be the get item name, item lookup string, now in shared storage. Awesome. So we should be able to double check that that works. All right, so all right, now in shared storage, now in shared storage, now in shared storage. Worked like it's supposed to. Lovely to see. Okay, check vault. Whenever we check vault, and that's when items are refreshed for the vault. Okay. Does that happen each time we open this? It appears not. That's interesting. That one might only be fired off when you first load up. So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing that we did before for item and item lookup string in I pairs items do. On Barrow White says, I bet your I and F keys are battered on your keyboard. Yeah, I long ago switched to a keyboard that has no keycaps. Everything's black. So I don't have to worry about text on different keys rubbing off at different rates. Umbrella says, I just have to buy letter stickers. Yeah, I can see that. This is what I use for my day-to-day keyboard. So, nothing to worry about. I have nothing but good things to say about DOS keyboard. I've had a really good series of them. This is like my third or my fourth one as I've moved on to different locations or different companies or whatnot. So I have one here. I've got one in my office set up. Actually, the one here has the volume dial here. I've actually really appreciated the media controls and the volume dial, having a hardware solution to that instead of having to use a Windows interface to do it. I thought it would bug me at first, but it turns out the opposite. I much prefer having the ability to interact with the volume without needing to interface with Windows. And so, yeah, I really miss that when I go to my work machine. I'm like, oh, I have to click on something in Windows to adjust it. And of course, this is reliant on the operating system. If your operating system is kind of hung up or reacting slowly, it will also react slowly to this, but it's very nice. So if you're looking for a keyboard with the old MX keycaps, and you can touch type, of course, then something like this would be fine. They have keyboards at DOS Keyboard that have keycaps as well. They've got a whole bunch of options out there, including ones with lights on them, which bug me to no end. So I'm glad this one doesn't have them. Anyway, okay. So in here, we're gonna go do if is item match item, and again, that's gonna be the item lookup string. Then do something, but in this case, we're just typing out a debug string so we can verify that it is working. Get item name. And that's going to be the item lookup string in shared storage. Great. This one might not be testable until we log off and log back on, but that's okay. And that's going to be in the... Oh, that's going to be in Vault. No, that's shared storage. Ow! Shared storage is called Vault. Good to know. Wait. This is vault. That is different. Okay, the name was wrong. Vault. Okay. So what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and use an empty bucket here. And unload and reload just to make sure we didn't make any errors here. Okay. We did get a callback here for finding that. I think we weren't seeing anything because we didn't have any of these in our vault, and we didn't have any just basic debug that said debug checking vault, you know, that kind of thing. If we'd had that, we would have noticed that we were getting that reload, that refresh. Yeah, checking vault. There we go. Close this, open it back up. Checking vault. Okay. So it was just the fact that there wasn't anything in there to find that threw me off. Ah, that happens. Okay. Hornblower says, I now have Wooting 800 or 80 HT. That is not a brand that I recognize, but I am curious. RGB will be the death of me. Well, Wooting doesn't want to tell me about an 80 HT. Is that an 80 HE? That's a very compact looking keyboard. I don't think I could deal with a keyboard that doesn't have a numpad when you're not in a laptop form factor. I appreciate you've got to make concessions for a laptop if it's not going to be a huge beast, but I end up using the keyboard for so many different things, even just simple data entry, that I think that would drive me batty. And yeah, if that were my keyboard, first thing I'd be doing would be disabling the LED lights underneath it. I appreciate they work for some people, but it's not for me. Okay, next function, get vault item added. So, we don't have to iterate through everything. We can just do the single check. So if is item match, and this is going to be, yeah, for, and this is going to be the item int, item lookup string, in I pairs, and I'm just going through the process of typing instead of doing a copy paste because as we saw earlier, I just forget the syntax for how to do this in Lua, and I just need to type it more to get it into my head. Is item match, and this is going to be args.item, and this is going to be the item lookup string. Then and so debug, and this is going to be the get item name, item lookup string, and we're going to concatenate that to now in vault. Okay, so if all goes well, we can go ahead and delete that as well. So we do need to go ahead and get these into the vault. Now backpack, now vault, backpack, vault, backpack, vault. Now this is just the nature of how items are moved around in Lord of the Rings Online. We can see in both directions when I moved from vault to shared storage, it had to go through my backpack. And that's just the nature of it. You can actually see this. If you look at the first open spot in your backpack, you can see it hitting that on the way to its final destination. And the same back. Sometimes it goes pretty fast, like it's just there and gone. But if you're a plugin that is paying attention to things being added or removed to your backpack, you're going to see that as well as the next place. So if you were doing something based off of is it in my backpack, you probably want to wait a second to see did it enter my backpack only just to leave again. Fortunately, we don't care so much about that. We're going to be updating our setting and then a moment later updating the setting again, but I don't think there's going to be much actionable about that. So that's just something to be thinking about. The backpack can be a very temporal place. Okay, so we've just done a lot, and what I want to do is double check in main, do we still see this value hard-coded? let's go ahead and actually just iterate through here as well. So debug, and we're going to get item name, and that's going to be the pairs equipped, and that's going to be a dump of is item equipped. I rebooted my computer earlier, but some stuff came back. Is item equipped, and then that's going to be the item lookup string as well. Great. Let's give that a shot where we comment those out, unload, and then reload. Ah, that didn't work. Okay, 180. Oh, interesting. How did that suddenly stop working? Oh, yeah, okay. Where are we when we're doing this? Item lookup string. Okay. Attempt to index a field. Item data. Items lookup of the possible item. So we should be, is item equipped, that should be a string. Alright. Is it? Let's find out. So the flowing silver stone of the tortoise is a problem. Okay. Why? All of these look correct, which makes sense. 181. So we are calling this with item lookup string, right? Yeah. Is item equipped? That's the possible item, yeah. Attempt to yield a nil value. Okay, which part of it is nil? Okay. Well, that's different. Every once in a while, a random bit of characters gets deleted from a unrelated line, and I don't know what's causing it. It weirds me out. Okay, so what's going on with this? Item 1, 2, 3. Item data is using okay, and we also want items lookup. But 1, 2, and 3, equipment equals 15. Lovely. Okay. So items, flowing silverstone, flowing, lowing. Ah, right. Yeah, yeah. Lowing the silverstone of the tortoise is in fact not there. Hey, it worked great. Oh, and if that was a random character that was deleted, well, that's one of the nice things about source control is that if you are doing regular commits, then if something weird goes on in your IDE, you can easily roll it back. Okay, so when we start up, Fateful Toolkit equipped false, Flowing Silverstone equipped false, it's an Tortoise equipped false, great. Let's go ahead and take a look at what happens if two of those are true. Coming on in. So, equipped, yep. True, true, false. What's going on with that? Shared storage, true. Oh, is available, is available. That's... yeah, that's probably still useful to know. Okay, we've made really good progress. We still have some Wenda stuff in here, I bet. Yeah. So I think we still have some stuff to do here, but we've made some really good progress. And I think I really want to get this into source control because, yeah, if I'm going to lose some random characters, that's going to be annoying. So let's go ahead and look at source control, take some snapshots, some commits of what we've been working on, and then probably come up to the end of our stream. So if you have any last minute questions, comments, concerns, now's a great time to get them into chat. And in the meantime, let's go ahead and pull up our source control tool. Now we are using fork today from fork.dev. Otherwise you may have trouble finding it. I don't know what I say that, but let's go ahead. Fork source control. Random internet search. Well, the first entry is git-fork.com. Is that the same thing? It does look like it's the same thing. So good job on their search engine optimization, because fork source control, I did not think that was going to work. Okay, so added command to this check command framework. Let's go ahead and get that in. Main items won't matter. Okay. Settings. Added initial settings file. Added helper function to get an item name. And what's up with the lack of a new line? Is that true? No, there is now a new line. That's fine. Okay, that works. Items, added a file to is that okay? Yeah, added file with expected items. Current items. Okay. Initial commit of main.lua. There are still outstanding subscriber buff reminder. There is still outstanding subscriber reminder code to deal with. that's okay. We're going to at least get it committed and push off of my machine. There we go. So that means it's going to be much easier to undo changes. And we have something that kind of works reasonably well. And so as we're deleting things or moving things around, we'll have a way to track that better. We were playing with fire without a net. Okay, so what we'll do next time is we're going to go through this logic and finish stripping out any of the subscriber buff reminder thing so that all we have left is just the bonus item code. We're also going to take all these various comments and, you know, I'm saying this, but let's go ahead and next is first issue to do main.lua cleanup. Okay, that's number 5. This combines the effort of number 5. Don't worry about the chat command. And this is fixed in today's stream. So we're going to go ahead and close this one. I feel pretty good about that. Okay. Combines the effort number 5 with... What was number 5? That's just checking the comments. With a need to clean up remaining code from subscriber buff reminder. Buffs? Reminder. Go through main.lua. Any comments that are design oriented move into GitHub as an issue if needed, or simplify and move to the top of the file for reference. Any leftover code, for instance, Wenda, or what else do we have? Effect. Keywords include Wenda, effect, announce, dun, dun, dun. Either remove completely or repurpose for this plugin. And then at that point, I think the cleanup will be done. So we'll go ahead and make sure that's assigned to me. It is. Great. Great. So issues, first issue to do. And then before the initial release, that's those. Great. Okay. Neat. So we're doing some really good work here. Once the outstanding code is cleaned up and this file is simplified a little bit, we have the ability to track where things are, to find out where they were to begin with. And we need to hook that up with our settings so that we record this information off. After we've recorded this information off, as we find it and as it moves around, then we can respond to the /bonus command, and that'll be a good proof of concept of we know where this stuff is. And then finally, we can start implementing the announcement logic, which is to say, when we complete these quests, when we log in, these kinds of things. If you log in and we don't have it locally and we think it was stored somewhere else, that can be an announcement. When we complete a wrapper, that can be an announcement. And in fact, I think I'm going to go ahead and look up the wrapper quests as the last thing that we're doing tonight on this stream. And then we'll sign off and pick it up next time. So I'm going to go to the LOTRO wiki and come on over here to apparently special events, which is maybe different from festivals. Well, you got me curious. Festival. Sure, all right. So, Spring Festival. So, Spring Festival. This is going to be just trying to figure out how I want to structure this. Spring equals, and this is just going to look the same as other language-based entities. So we're going to go ahead and just have a template here. So in the spring, midsummer, farmer's fair, harvest, Yule. Is there a wrapper for the anniversary? Yeah. Is the anniversary in here? Anniversary. Yeah, there it is. Okay, great. And then anything else that has a normal wrapper? Well, let's come into here. So quests. We're going to go ahead and have. Okay, this is going to say complete something else 4 times. A taste of spring. Okay, so spring, it's a taste of spring. Excellent. Let's get rid of deed checkers, wrapper buffs. Okay, so a taste of spring. And then I'll be able to pull the remaining languages later. Okay, so that was spring. Midsummer quests. We have sure. In celebration of midsummer? Yeah. Is midsummer? Yeah, okay. Farmer's fair. Quests. Sunny fair day. Okay. It feels like there's so many festivals that I must be missing something, but okay, sunny fair day. Harvest festival. Is it midsummer? I think it's midsummer festival. Farmer's fair. Harvest festival. Okay, and the harvest festival quests. A spirited harvest. Cool. Yule festival. Little Redhead says, says, I think there is, I assume for the Anniversary Festival. Little Redhead says, only non-rapper events are things like Treasure Hunt and Hobnanigans. Yeah, I feel like there might be one for the Boogan event, actually.
Yeah, I think there's rapper.
I don't know if there's anything worth using your festival token item on, but... Alright, Yule Festival. I would like the quests, please. Okay. Sure. In the spirit of Yule. Anniversary Festival. Alright, what do we got? Quests. Another lovely year. Okay, that looks like the one. Cool. Another lovely year. And then, let's see, that was all of these. Just double checking these other events. Have not done any of the crafting events yet, so I don't have any sense if they are involved in festival tokens. Ill Omens. Ill Omens had something, didn't it? Quests. Okay, that's a deed. Complete 10 skirmishes. No, that's a positive portent. Hey Netta, what else do you do? That's deeds. Man, I gotta do Ill Omens again. It's been too long. Wait, that can be exchanged for... Okay, yes. That can't be exchanged for traceries. I don't think that tooltip is right. I mean, it might be right. Anyway, I'm off topic. Okay, we're gonna not worry about Illumins right now. Summer Festival discontinued. I haven't done Tale of the Shipwrecked Mariner recently. Treasure Weekend. We're going to call that good enough. Okay. So, at some point, possibly next time, possibly in my copious spare time off stream, I'm going to go ahead and fill in the names on other ones. But what this will let us do is whenever we complete something, and presumably this will be options driven. In fact, I don't have to presume. I can add an issue. Options. Initial release. Options. The following should be configurable. So this is going to be items. Allow user to specify if they want to know about which items they want to include the plugin to pay attention to. Okay. Quests. Should the plugin pay attention to quests in order to remind the user to put their item away And the quest is completed. Yeah. And something else? We'll deal with that later. Okay. Awesome. So, if that's enabled, once these options are eventually in place, then we can do something with these. And we might end up doing them a bit differently. For instance, we don't actually care which festival it is. So it might be nicer to restructure this so that there's one for each language. And then if you're doing English, you just say, hey, is the thing I just completed an entry in this table? And so for that, that might look more like this. Wrapper quests equals, and so in en, it's going to equal this. And then in here, we can just say this equals, oops, equals true, or something. So same thing, equals true. And you have to give it some value, and so it might as well just be a Boolean that we can say if this entry then, and the true will definitely play nicely in that kind of a Boolean logic. Spirited Harvest, in the Spirit of Yule. I've come to really appreciate this structure instead of digging through tables looking for specific things. If you have a thing and you want to know does this match, then what you can do is we say, okay, we're in English, so this chunk, does it exist in this table? A Taste of Spring, In Celebration Midsummer, or maybe it's something else. Fishy, Very Fishy. Okay, you completed Fishy, Very Fishy. Seems unlikely. You're probably going to fail it. But okay, you completed Fishy, Very Fishy. There's no entry in this table, therefore it's not a wrapper. And so I really like this because bonus, it means that you can pull this out and put it into an English-specific file that only loads completely if the current language is English, otherwise it doesn't. And having a language-specific file, once you get enough of these strings, can feel useful. But at the very least, this means that we can also have a French section. We can have a German section. We can have a Russian section. And each one of those, same thing. Oh, we're in French. Is this string a wrapper? Yes, no. And that way we don't have to essentially iterate through every entry under, under wrappers to say, is the English version under here what we're looking at? Is the English version under here what we're looking at? Is the English version under here what we're looking at? There's no shortcut to that. There's no nice logic. You just have to iterate through every entry looking for, oh, we found it. Okay, we can exit early. And so I'm sure there's computational load involved in setting what's probably a hash table under the covers with the with text instead of numbers, but the code gets a lot simpler. So even if it's not any faster, it might even be a little bit slower, uncertain. But the code to write it and to understand it, that feels like a solid win here. And we're talking like a dozen festivals at most here, so I'm not too worried about that. So I am in fact going to delete this old way of structuring it and call it good. In fact, we could write a function. Function is wrapper quest, possible quest, lang, end. And then same thing, let's make lang a optional parameter, and if it wasn't passed in, it's going to default to nil. We can go ahead and swap in with our client language that we got from the client. So we have the ability to override that for testing or whatever, but we don't have to. And then if lang wrapper quests, lang, and possible quest, then. So the basic logic is return true, else return false. But the problem is that this is a very frustrating thing to see when you're reviewing code, because it very much feels like we should just return this, which is either true or nil, which will act pretty well for what we're looking for. Yeah. Someone in the background says that Lua is missing a switch function. Yeah. But you can kind of fake your way to something similar. Okay, so helper function to determine if a completed quest deed is a festival or wrapper function quest. Okay, so possible quest. This is a string extracted from a chat completion message. Lang is a, I don't know, what is clan language? Int. Ger. Number. Number or nil? Does that work? I'm not sure if that works. Maybe. Either a valid client language value or nil to accept the default. Okay, and then we return the Boolean of true if a wrapper, a quest, false otherwise. Okay. Actually, it's going to be nil otherwise. Now, in some places, you can coerce this. Like if we were to go ahead and say not, then if it is true, not turns it to false, not turns it back to true. If it's nil, not turns it to true, and then not turns it back to false. I'm not too worried about it. I'm going to see how we actually use this, if we use this, how we use this, and if nil is inconvenient. But since we're checking this in a conditional probably, like if is wrapper quest, then nil's going to fall out. It's going to be false. True's going to be fine. It won't really matter that these are truthy instead of Boolean. It'll be good enough for our purposes. Helper function to retrieve the current language name of an item. All right. Item is a string. Currently, lang is an int number, and we're returning a string. Only a string. What? Oh, interesting. Yeah, that is a problem. So, items equals. Let's see how much we screw things up by moving that into a substructure. And I'm doing that because I think if we do lang.items, that will see that, okay, all things under items are now a string. This thing had a table instead of just a list of languages. No, that doesn't have a list of languages. I don't know why it was messing up, but I think this will make it happier. Okay. Cool. Okay, so we have made some changes. Let's go to our source control and take a look at this. So, what did we do? We have put all of our items into their own little section in the line table. We have added the wrapper quests, at least in English. The rest will be followed up with. And we added a helper function, and we modified the other one. So we can do a couple of things. So first of all, let's go ahead and that's going to be a pain to sort out, isn't it? That's fine. We're going to go ahead and delete the stuff in our external tool and then undo that so it's sitting in its buffer. We're going to go ahead and move items into their own section in Lang. And that is just going to be, I should actually, okay. That is just going to be these changes here. And then we'll save all those other things. Added initial quest wrapper strings and helper function. Another one. Yeah, just come in. Okay. That's going to come on over here. Okay. Cool. Push those out. Okay. So, let's double check. Everything still seems to work. And we'll put those into our backpack because that was the whole point of this. All these messages seem correct on the face of it. What are you doing? Bumping my wire. Okay, so we didn't make any major problems there as we were setting that all up. Let's go ahead and reopen our shared storage and our vault. Awesome. Cool. I think we're in a good place. So, today we talked about a problem with LOTRO Plugin Compendium and how to work around that with a VPN. We've come through and we've eliminated all the if this, then this logic that we started with as a starting point, and now we can iterate through a table, which means adding new items only involves modifying the items file, adding a couple of entries there, and then the rest of the program will just work. And that's what we want. We want this to be easy to maintain. If we add more items, we don't have to worry too much. Not that I'm expecting too many more items, but it just really cleans up the code a lot. And it could be even cleaner going forward, depending on if we settle on numeric indices or textual indices for all of these lookup tables. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and bring the stream to an end here, but that's where we're at. And next time we're going to finish the cleanup of main, and if that goes well, maybe we can start in with the options, with the settings, all sorts of fun things. Okay. And nothing unaddressed in the Twitch chat. So that's everything we're going to cover today. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of LOTRO plugins. I hope to see you again probably next week. I think we're on. And until then, keep plugging along. All right, bye-bye now.